And we're back. I'm here to talk about the movie One of Them Days. Again, before we do anything else, please press that button below, subscribe, like, comment on this video, go back, watch my other videos, and do the same. And as always, if you don't want a synopsis or any spoilers, just go forward a couple of minutes. I'll put the time below when you should skip to avoid any spoilers, just to get to my honest review. Now, starting out with this movie, it's produced by Issa Rae. We all know from Insecure, which was one of the greatest shows ever on HBO Max. It stars Keke Palmer, the millennial diva, as she's called herself. It also stars SZA, worldwide musical artist. We all know who that is. Basically, it's kind of a coming-of-age, ride-along, Friday-esque type movie, but with two female leads. They're down on their luck. Keke's character trusts SZA's character with getting the rent to their landlord. When that doesn't happen, they have to go through a series of events to try and earn this money. One of the events is trying to get some tennis shoes off of an electric line that belongs to this kind of big-time bully in the neighborhood who threatens to kill them if he doesn't get his money back for the shoes. They throw an art show, they make the money back, they turn the dude in that's trying to kill them. In the end, everything works out. In the end, they get the money. Palmer's character gets the guy. They get to live in their apartment eventually. It actually did burn down, but their landlord has to fix it for them. That's pretty much a synopsis of the movie. I actually don't want to give too much about this movie away in terms of the synopsis, because it's one of those movies to where the plot itself is not as important as the adventure and the actual just entertainment factor of the movie. And there's a lot of special guests that come into play and have their little moments. It's just very enjoyable parts that I don't really want to give away. So I'd say you have to see the movie to get the entire plot. The plot is not really as important as the events that take place in the movie, I would say. Now, before I go into my actual rundown of the scoring for this movie, I do have to say what I say from time to time for certain movies. This movie was not made to make $1 billion at the box office. It also was not made to get a ton of awards at award shows. It was made for a certain audience, and I believe that this movie has to be viewed through a certain lens, a certain cultural lens for what the audience that it was intended for. Again, this is one of those movies I would imagine a lot of movie reviewers will see this, and they'll say, this was no good, this movie made no sense, it had no point, where is it going? But that really wasn't the point, of the movie. In the black community, we've had several movies like this, just kind of in the history of cinema. One of the biggest ones most people know is like a movie like Friday, to where the plot itself, again, was not really as important as the events that took place and the acting and the feeling and just kind of the cultural relevance of the movie. It's things that you grow up kind of doing yourself. And in that connection to the movie, you really enjoy the movie because you're like, yeah, I did that, or yeah, I would do that too. So in that standpoint, you really need to have this cultural lens. And I feel like I would be doing it a disservice if I didn't review it like that, being someone of that community. So I kind of want to take that time out to say that's why I'm reviewing the movie in general, because I think it would be looked over by a lot of other, big time movie reviewers, but also giving it a score that's based on what it was intended for. It was intended for a certain audience to be entertainment and to kind of give us culturally something to identify with that a lot of other big movies in the box office don't actually do, don't give to that community. So you really have to respect it for that. So first, I'll start with cast and crew, which, as you know, to me, cast and crew can make or break a movie. There were a lot of cameos in this movie, so I'll kind of start with the main characters first and kind of work my way down. Obviously, Keke Palmer played the main character, Drew. She did a great job, great comedic timing. I would say overall, really enjoyed her character. There were a lot of really funny moments. I would say she definitely carried the movie. Her acting chops were great, comedic, like I said, timing was perfect. The other main character, SZA, this was really her first starring role. I feel like she did great in the role for what needed to be done. It's not going to be a performance that blows you away. She's not going to get an Oscar for Best Actress. But I think she was the perfect supporting character. Again, very reminiscent of the Chris Tucker, Ice Cube kind of Friday, kind of playing off of each other roles, and kind of the sum of them is greater than the parts. So I feel like them working together was actually comedic gold. It was actually hilarious. I was actually blown away by how much I enjoyed it. I say from that standpoint, it was great. There were some other random cameos. You saw Cat Williams. You saw Little Rel Howery. Maude Apatow was kind of in the movie as this like side character who was moving into the bad part of town because the landlord was trying to recruit white people into the neighborhood. So that was a very funny moment. So I'd say overall, cast and crew, it was great. I'm going to give it a 1.5 just because of how endearing the characters were. And Kiki and SZA actually worked perfect together. I would say in terms of the plot, again, looking at it through a cultural lens, the plot is not going to change your life. It wasn't meant to. It was meant to be like an enjoyable ride-along experience, something that you may yourself have done going through this, living in this same like place they're living in LA. So I'd say from that standpoint, it's hard to really bring down the plot, but I can't give it a 2 because obviously it wasn't a perfect plot. There were some plot holes, but there were supposed to be some plot holes. That's what type of movie it is. I'm gonna give it a 1 out of 2. In terms of set design, production, it was what it was. It took place in LA. It took part in like little small parts of town. There was one part that was in a motel apartment type feel. There was another part that was at Church's Chicken. There was another part that was in a very fancy building where Keke Palmer's character was trying to get a job. So all these places were very believable. It very much felt like that real type of environment. So from that standpoint, I would give it a 2. In terms of the music definitely added to just the feeling and the cultural relevance of this movie. It's a lot of songs you've heard in the past, a lot of things that kind of led to you just having that same kind of air of kind of like Next Friday, that same vibe. It just felt like it was something you would have on your own playlist. It was very vibey, something you would do on a Saturday or Sunday, just chilling on the couch. So I feel like from that standpoint, it was great, but it wasn't, full orchestras and things like that, so I can't give it a 2. So I'm gonna have to give it a 1. And then the final category, how did I feel overall about this movie? I will say, with my initial little blurb being said about cultural relevance and looking at it through a cultural lens, and it's made for a certain audience, and I was going into this movie thinking, it's going to be good, but I'm probably going to, not like it that much overall, or it's going to be, overacting or underacting, but I should have known better, because it was Issa Rae who produced this, and I very much enjoyed this movie. Me and my best friend went to see it, and I'm glad we went to see it because it's 100% a best friend movie. I keep saying this, but in the same vein of like a Friday type movie or Friday After Next type movie where it's got these two main characters who are going through these just series of unfortunate events in their hometown trying to make a way out of no way. So I'd say it was very enjoyable. I would actually give the enjoyment factor of this movie a 2 out of 2 overall. So overall, if we're talking about a total score for this movie, I'm going to give it a prescription of a 7, but I would actually have to say, in terms of a cultural relevance, a cultural lens, it actually does get a bonus score, which I do time to time, because when it goes to my overall scoring, it actually doesn't really illustrate how enjoyable and how good this movie was, especially for the audience it was intended for. So when I'm going to give it a bonus point for cultural relevance, and that's going to bring it up to an 8 out of 10. So I'm giving this movie a prescription, an 8 out of 10. Definitely go see it. Go see it with your friends. Go see it with your family. Don't go into this movie trying to write a thesis or a dissertation. It's not that type of movie. This movie is meant to be just enjoyed. And sometimes we need that where we are in the world right now. You don't have to think about this a lot. Just enjoy the movie. It was a great movie. Lots of laughs. It flows very well. 8 out of 10. I really think you'll enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments. What I missed, what you thought about it, what you liked, what you didn't like about it.